Have you ever thought just how boring or ridiculous news commentary is today? Welcome to the Real Jacks Podcast with Jim and Larry. The Real Jacks Podcast. From crime and politics to entertainment, you can expect something different. Now, let's get real, Jacks.
Hey, welcome back to Jim, Larry, and Crawfish. Today's special guest is Ben Frazier, founder and president of the Northside Coalition. Glad to have you here today, Ben. Ben?
Yeah.
Anybody seen Ben?
Yeah. Well, we talked to him.
Hey, Ben.
We did. Did you, Crawfish? Did you actually talk to him?
Talked to his assistant.
Okay. So we had him scheduled. Confirmed how many? A few times, right?
2 or 3 times.
Yeah. So we confirmed, and as of today, we believed he was coming in at 2:00.
Yep.
Yeah. Ben stiffed us. Ben didn't show up today, and Ben didn't even give us a call. And we were going to be really nice to Ben today.
Yeah. We had a good long plan of talking about history and trying to have some meaningful conversations about violence. Not that that's the conversation you want to have, about policing, where his history was, how we can work together and do those things. But we didn't get so much as a call. So Zach called them, and turns out he decided to hold a rally today. I don't know, 3 or 4 people go. Decided to hold a rally today and didn't bother to give us a call, a text, a message, or anything.
No, just stood us up.
We weren't going to debate. We weren't going to do anything but try to, have some...
Give him some
honest,
airtime.
Yeah, give him some airtime, have some honest discussions. Yeah. Had a lot of background information we pulled, but we'll get into that. So first I'm going to read the ads, and then we'll move on. We've got some good ones in the future. Trudy Callahan was going to come today, but she was unable to. We had J.J. Gray. Was going to come, J.J. Gray and Mofro, but J.J. Gray had a jiu-jitsu belt testing, which I know how important that is. So he had belt testing to do.
You got to be in the right mindset.
So he'll probably be here next month, and then Norm Brewer will be here later on. So and now he's running for council, so we'll get into that. But as the first one was Extreme Wings, 4 convenient locations, family sports, restaurant, and grill, more than just wings. Tremendous Barbecue, open since 2007, 8927 Hurlong Road, open 11 to 8, Tuesday through Saturday, and Sunday 11 to 3. Full barbecue menu, everything homemade. They cater anything, and they love first responders. Advanced Window Tint, 5024 Sunbeam Road, over 26 years experience here. 3M Platinum Dealer, highest level of 3M. They tint vehicles, homes, and businesses. Secure One Protection Services.
Your number one choice for protection since 1986. 356-1111.
D-Way Towing, 100 South Jackson Avenue. Phone number is 904-356-3929. They take care of all your towing needs. Shannon Judge with Legends of Real Estate. Shannon Judge Real Estate at gmail.com is her email, and her phone number is 904-200-8158. Bouncer Roof Fun. Mike Kellum, former JSO and friend, served in North Florida for over 15 years and over 10,000 parties. Bouncer Roof offers a large selection of inflatable hoppers, water slides, interactive games, concessions, and frozen drinks. They offer large tents for events, large event tents, tables, and chairs. Always discounts to first responders and rental rates. If you rent on the weekend, you keep it the whole weekend. Last one, we had to change one out. Norm Brewer for Jacksonville, District 11. Norm's running for District 11, a city council seat. We need fighters that truly represent us on the city council.
Straight shooter.
Norman Brewer is that guy. He's a constitutional conservative, former law enforcement, a successful businessman. Norm will call it like he sees it. You will have no better advocate on the council.
I agree with that.
We're looking forward to seeing Norm here a little bit later. So we'll get into today. So we had a plan for Ben Frazier to kind of divide it up. We were going to give him some airtime, talk about where he came from, his history. We got that history, at least with the history he put on LinkedIn, so we'll look at that real quick. And I think he's got that. There we go. He's a recipient of over 200 awards for journalistic excellence, documentary production, and community service, pioneering African-American broadcaster and freelance writer of African-American history, managing editor of the blog site, theblackviewpoint.com, motivational speaker and community activist, also known as Mr. Excitement. Ben Frazier was born on June 23rd, 1950 in Jacksonville, Florida. First 22 years of Ben's work experience involved his career in broadcasting. The second 20 years is in the collections industry. After Jones College, he majored in broadcast management, moved to commercial radio. In 1979, he became the first African-American to anchor a news show in Jacksonville. Viewers quickly embraced his quick wit, his assuring and authoritative presentation, and his distinctive baritone voice. Ben was a sole anchor on Eyewitness News at noon and the post-Newsweek television WJX-TV4. His career took him to Atlanta, New Orleans, Washington, D.C., and Detroit. In the nation's capital, Ben became a well-respected writer and anchor on the Associated Press Network, Mutual Black Network, and the WL Radio, where he served as news director. Ben Frazier, recipient of many awards, including 3 Emmys. Ben's career in the collections industry started in 1990 as an entry-level collector for the American Creditors Bureau. Over this period of time, Ben established himself as an industry leader who has made and saved clients hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the business folks, obviously. Ben worked for several collection agencies during that time, but wherever he worked, he surpassed all goals and objectives. Better still, he managed to do so and never having been sued or having a negative rating with the Better Business Bureau or having a target of claims filed with a regulatory agency or state attorney general's office. In addition, Ben is also certified by the American Collectors Association. 20 years he was a
collector.
Yeah, collections officer.
But not a manager.
Collections
or anything.
agent.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think he had.
It must be that booming voice that gets people to fork their money over.
Probably so. I got a funny story. You know, I always prided myself on my credit, but I will tell you there was one occasion I had, and I won't mention this, a local company where, you know, the companies come out and spray your lawn, and it's a pretty big pest control kind of service, and spray it for pests and spray it for
monthly service kind of thing.
So I had one come out one time in a house I had on the west side, and they sprayed it and they used the wrong stuff. So it's a different kind of grass than what they were thinking, I believe.
They damaged your lawn?
Killed it all.
Okay.
Browned it all. Killed it. So
you quit paying them.
Yeah, I said,
and then they turned you over to collections.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. And Ben Frazier called you.
I think so. I think it was Ben Frazier. So it's pretty funny. And I don't think it was him, but whoever it was on the other side, I made a complaint on because I think they were new or they just thought it was funny. You know, they use that position to try to harass people, make all kind of wild allegations and claims and threats, which they're not allowed.
These are the people that got beat up in high school.
Right.
So they
lunch money taken in high school.
Right. So they go become collection agents.
Yeah, absolutely.
And harass old people or
like Doug
people
Dixon.
like you.
Yeah, people like Doug Dixon. Had their lunch money taken in high school. Anyway,
Dougie.
Oh, Doug. So I refused to pay him and actually contacted an attorney and ended up speaking to the owner of the company of the pest control service, and they profusely apologized. And I said, you know, I had pictures. I sent them down. I said, y'all have killed my lawn. I had to replant it all. So,
which they should.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't care if it messed my credit up or not, and it didn't really. But you know, they sent it to collections. It was like the only time I ever had anything on my credit where I just refused to pay.
Or probably the only time you had a collections person dogging you, hounding you.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we'll get into some of the numbers we pulled for Ben Frazier.
I'd love to see some
you know, there's
documentation on some of the awards he's won. That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. And he's also, I mean, he said that there was a period of time, maybe that's between where he was in the before he was collections, between radio and collections, where I think he got involved with some drugs or something along those lines. You know, he's kind of, just kind of a.
You find anything on that?
He talked about that himself. You know, that he's kind of. He turned his life around, that kind of thing, which is
that's
very
good.
admirable.
Yeah, redemption.
Very admirable. But he's he's very well known in community activism. But we pulled some numbers, so we're going to talk about that. Yeah, there you go. Ben Frazier escaped from captivity of cocaine. So he got beyond being a cocaine addict and turned his life around.
Looks like late 90s. That came out. 98.
Yeah.
88. Oh, 88. Oh,
88,
that's way back. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a long time
cocaine,
ago. That's a long time
crack
ago.
Come out, was rolling out pretty hard about that time, so there's no telling.
Right,
anyway,
right. Well, good job, Ben, for turning that behind you. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll look at we just pulled some shootings. So Ben's talked about things like the gun show loophole. He's talked about police in Jacksonville. He kind of wanted to get into that and kind of find out the history. And he talks about one of the articles I pulled up was he was downtown when the I don't know if it was a riot.
Oh, it was the 50s with his mom.
Yeah, he was with his mom at an event downtown when they were segregation stuff was going on, and he was like 10 years old, and she told him not to be scared. It's back when they were
so we're like 1960.
Threatening
59,
people
60, yeah.
When I guess it was Woolworths, the food counter and all that kind of stuff was going on.
You can't sit at the counter.
Yeah. Right. So he was pretty scared, and I'm sure that developed some sort of, his thoughts into
But
here it is.
That's a whole different era. That would never happen today anywhere.
No, of course.
Nowhere in the United States, not even in the deepest part of the South.
Yeah, pull it up.
Not in the deepest part of Alabama. That's not going to happen. So.
Pull it up. Go up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. White mob in Jacksonville, Florida beat up black civil rights activists in August 1960, what was called Axe Handle Saturday. 60th anniversary coincides when the Republican National Convention would be in Jacksonville. They spoke with Jacksonville activists who participated with his mother in civil rights demonstrations as a child and remembers Axe Handle Saturday. She went on down to the marches anyway, but the good part is she took me with her. I remember early on marching with her outside a local cafeteria called Morrison's, where black people could work but they couldn't eat, and I held her hand and watched as a flatbed truck went by that was filled with Ku Klux Klan in full regalia.
Probably.
And I remember looking at my mom saying I was afraid and scared, and she said, well, Benny, don't worry, they're not going to do anything to you. But I noticed one thing. She didn't come home and tell my daddy about the incident because he had been upset, and we stood there and carried signs. Around the same time at Hemmings Park, the center of the Jacksonville, Hemmings Park, they had some folks sitting at the white lunch counters trying to get a hot dog and Coke. And right in the middle of everyone on a hot August 27th day, actually 60 years, August 27th, 2020, we had the KKK passing out axe handles, and that the event would become as known as Axe Handle Saturday.
Which is a very horrible...
Staying on our history.
Staying on Jacksonville's history and a lot of history in the U.S., throughout the U.S. But, 20 years before that, Germans were killing Jews by the millions.
Yeah.
So it's just a different era, different time in the world back then. And things that happened back then just wouldn't happen today like that. So hopefully...
The Sheriff's Department...
When is this? What date is this?
The mayor's office was complicit, and they just watched black people get beat and had to run around frightened and was terrorized by this white mob. 22 people were injured. It would change Jacksonville ever. That was the tenor. Yeah. And that was the tone of the times back then. And I'm sure it was.
That was the tone of the times. That just summarized that whole
it was.
article. Right. When did that come out there?
January 5th.
Okay, so this is fairly
new.
Very current.
So he's had a very colorful history and seen a lot of horrific things and different side of human race that should never be allowed in the public arena.
And being on a side where we haven't most likely ever been exposed to,
Pulled he pulled a lot of things from his history that's probably led him to where he is now, to be the director of the Northside Coalition.
Yeah.
And
it certainly inspired him.
Absolutely.
And when I did my reserve work over at JSO, I spent most of my time on the Northwest side.
Yeah, I grew up there.
There's a lot of really good people over there.
I grew up on Brandywine Street in Lake Forest.
Exactly, yeah.
Edgewood and Lim Turner.
So there's a lot of good people there, really good people, and they need a good community activist. The thing is, they need more good community activists.
But everywhere he goes, instead of having meaningful relationships, sometimes he gets emotionally hijacked and
well put.
Tends to put it in some kind of frame where he's
not effective.
Yeah, and I think that I was hoping today that we could have that. We could do that, and and I guess he's got a criminal history. He's a convicted felon, those kind of things, and hey, we've got Doug Dixon on. We got a lot of people that's
convicted felons.
Yeah,
but Dougie's I got a lot of respect for Doug.
Yeah, he's been very successful, and he's Dougie calls it like he sees it. I mean, Doug looks at things from both sides, which is takes a lot. And I was hoping we could get into that discussion with Ben Frazier, but anyway, we in preparation for Ben Frazier, we did pull up some information. Just using News4Jax, we didn't pull JSO, but we wanted to talk about how the media sees things and talks about things, because people watch the media, and a lot of people unfortunately listen to certain things in the media and they believe that that's the truth, or that's where their positive information comes from. So we just wanted to show that Ben Frazier probably maybe is getting sidetracked into other issues and hasn't really been as outspoken against violence in Jacksonville as maybe he could be. So we just looked at total shootings for 3 years, just on News4Jax. And obviously this is the total shootings that JSO had, but whatever, there might have been a few that slipped through that weren't on the news. But total shootings in 3 years just reported on News4Jax was 1,562. 2021 had 435, 2020 had 554, and 2019 had 573. There was 1,227 in News4Jax articles. In the past 3 years, Ben Frazier was mentioned in 74 articles, and basically 18 articles involving violence or shootings. So out of 1,227 just in News4Jax, he was only mentioned in 18 articles as having some sort of problem with, trying to decry the violence that is occurring in Jacksonville. That's kind of a low number.
In the area that he's trying to.
So my question would have been,
represent.
sir, if you're so concerned about violence, because he talks about police violence a lot, or police accountability so much. Now, he's mentioned in 54 articles in reports with News4JAX for police, but only 18 articles mentioning violence or any kind of shooting, not related to police. So 18 times out of 1,227 times that News4JAX reported, he's actually quoted or made a statement, and a few of those, just one murder in Moncrief Park, head trauma on Baldwin Avenue, 2 drive-by shootings in Grand Park. In one of those, he asked for more police officers.
Great.
That particular news article, he mentioned where Curry expresses cure violence, talks about cure violence, the shooting at the park, and some hilltop shootings. So he doesn't have a great number of shootings that he's talked about, just violence in the African-American community in Northwest Jacksonville. Which
You
I
talk about
think,
black on black crime.
well, I don't know if it's all black on black, but just violence in Northwest Jacksonville. Northside,
Right,
if he's the Northside Coalition director, then maybe he should spend a little more time talking about violence in the Northside
Right.
area.
So what you're saying is he's too focused on the police and their involvement with
I agree.
with the people there. I agree.
And if you
not
look,
the actual
he's talking about
citizens
the
that are
police
committing
being
these crimes
complicit,
against
and I
each
could
other.
go on for hours about the professionalism of the police work. Obviously police have their own detractors, and I'm sure there's occasions where police have made mistakes in the past. But I'm telling you, in 28 years as a law enforcement officer, I never saw egregious acts on the part of police officers brutalizing anyone. And no, not one time I've ever heard of police officers speak or wake up with some sort of malicious intent that today I'm going to go out and shoot somebody, or I'm going to go out and hurt somebody.
I agree.
And that
Same
just
here.
doesn't exist.
Not these days.
And you follow those directions, and I think it speaks to a larger issue that maybe it's not just police, but it's a rebellion against authority. And just police are just the target.
Well, that was my experience, that they did not like me having any authority over them and being able to tell them what they can do and what they can't do. So they kind of wanted their own set of rules.
Well, we
But
all
they
have
didn't
our
have
own, we all have
Right,
rules, and we got
right.
to abide by those. And,
Right,
and,
right.
and it weren't your rules.
Right. No, they weren't. No, they're the laws that have been made by the city or the state, and everybody's got to follow them.
Yeah, everybody, including
My suggestion to Mr. Frazier would be to kind of move out of the past and move more into the present, and then start looking at
having some positive, meaningful relationships.
and look at how things are today, the numbers are today, how the police are today. The police of today aren't the police of 20 years ago or 40 or 50 years ago. And things did happen 50 years ago, but
but
there were things happening all over 50 years ago
I agree.
that aren't acceptable today.
I agree. The one of the shootings was a Coast Guard officer was shot here. I remember they went and confronted a burglar outside, and they were shot. Her name was Caroline Scholert. She killed outside of Riverside home. Ben Frazier didn't say anything about that, did he?
Nope.
I wonder why. But I posted this story a long time ago, and I'll tell this story now. Police do make mistakes, and sometimes you get a knucklehead. I mean, once in a while. So I'm gonna tell you.
But they get weeded out pretty
know
good
the
these
story
days.
about my mom? Did you ever read that?
No, but we've talked about it, but we should talk about it again.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So, I'm not going to
that
use
story
the
kind
year.
of gives me chills.
I'm not going to use the
Little bit.
year
It does.
because that'll kind of date me. But I'm not going to go there. But when I was 7 years old, I was with my mom. She went shopping. It was back in Gateway Mall when you could really shop at Gateway Mall. And when I was a small child, Mom had gone there to get a few items, as she did, once every couple of weeks, once a month, or whatever. She was at home, and she stayed home. My dad worked. We lived in Lake Forest, a little small house, about 850 square foot, little 2-bedroom house. And she went up there, but prior to her getting there, was a small group, or not a small group, a good sized group of young people. And back then, they were they stuck out. They were long hair and afros, a very diverse group of young people. Into Christian rock, and they were holding a big rally and a revival, but they were trying to bring more young people into the Christian faith. So they were out witnessing at Gateway Mall and handing out tracts. Well, there was a police officer at the time, and he's passed away, God rest his soul, named Bob Crawford. Well, Bob had apparently been up there and talked to this group, and I guess maybe a couple people complained, because they didn't look like everybody else. And said, hey, you got to get off the property, you're loitering. If I come back and catch you on the property, you're all going to jail.
Yeah.
So in the interim, my mother shows up there. She doesn't know that this officer spoke to anybody, and she's buying packages. She has receipts. She got me with her. The officer just decides to come back up and check to see if the young Christian group has left yet. Well, they hadn't. So he tells them all, listen, you're all under arrest. They gave you a chance to leave, and now you're all going to jail. My mom, being the strong person of faith that she is, and, she's not known to bite her tongue 100% of the time, she says, hold on.
Is that where you got it from?
I don't know. Anyway, she says, hold on, these young people aren't doing anything wrong. They're witnessing for Jesus. I'm very proud of them, because she had spoke to them and said, listen, I appreciate and we need more kids like you that can come, talk to the youth and try to get them involved in Christianity, and that ones that don't look like everybody else, so stuffy and wearing suits all the time. I mean, we need more of the younger faith or the younger generation involved in Christianity. So she was talking about how proud of them, and she was going to go to their big revival where they had some Christian rock folks and some contemporary rock Christian musicians. So, as I said, the officer came back and said, you're all under arrest. Well, my mom said, hold on, wait a minute. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just witnessing for Christ. And he said, well, you're going to jail too. So, needless to say, I had to get my aunt to come get me. 7 years old. It's a little traumatic to, watch your mother.
See mom getting put in a police car.
Yeah, put in a police car and carted off to jail. So, she went to jail. And there was a director, I guess, her family was all firemen, and somehow that story got around, and someone asked about it. Now, that's not lawyering when you go to a place and you buy packages and you have receipts.
And you exercise your First Amendment right to a police officer that I think these kids are just here
witnessing.
They're not doing anything wrong.
Right.
It's not,
So, needless to say, Director Griffin at the time, he was the director. I think it was Irving Griffin or something like that. He had her brought to his office from jail. She spent overnight in jail. The next morning, he had her released and brought to his office. And he said, listen, we will address this. We will fix this. He just won't sue us, because he knew that was false arrest. Yeah. No basis, no probable cause. And my mother, true, typical Linda fashion, said, I wouldn't think of it. I was able to lead somebody to the Lord last night. The Lord wanted me in that jail.
While she sat in jail.
While she sat in jail.
Yeah. So
the Lord wanted me in that jail for a reason. So she saved a soul. She felt like she saved a soul in jail. And that was her opportunity. Yeah. God gave her that opportunity, wanted her there to be able to do that.
God bless your mom.
But she was always bringing home somebody that I was, I'm not going to go down that path, but there's been some yahoos she's, tried to help and save in the past. Couldn't save them all, obviously.
You do a show on your mom.
She's drugged me through. Hey, I've been the only white kid in a black church many times. She was ordained.
Ben, if you ever watch us, I hope you're listening.
She sang in churches. I can't tell how many prayer meetings I've walked into in the living room, even as a teenager, rebellious teenager, and not appreciating there's a bunch of people in my living room. But, that brings itself to a bigger question. Are the police really an issue?
Well, so that's a great example right there. So was that officer held accountable in any kind of way? I would imagine he was probably pretty well reprimanded.
I mean, I joked with her now.
Sort of thing. If it got in the hands of a director, he was probably pretty well reprimanded.
Yeah, but I think the guy made sergeant later on. So, I mean, he didn't lose his career.
Yeah, but he may have gone way higher had he not.
Maybe
done what he did. So
he told her about suing. I said, Mom, we could have got paid.
But then again, that's probably way back in. We could have got money, but that's way back in the 70s.
Yeah, but I'll say that that story was always in the back of my head. So when I became a police officer, and I had no intent to become a police officer when I got older, I was working for my dad. Had some friends do it. Decided, hey, this is cool. They pay you for this. And said, yeah, maybe I want to do this. Actually, I took a pay cut first couple of years I was a police officer. But I always had that in the back of my head that I'd make sure that whatever decision I made I fully followed the color of the law, the rule of law. I followed JSO policies. When I became a supervisor, I made sure that same thing. If we made an arrest, it was probable cause. And if it was questionable, we contacted somebody either above us or at the state. And I never ran into that. And in all the years I did, I followed these things and realized that this bias against police is just, most of it's a false narrative. It just doesn't exist. I mean, the abuse from police that supposedly occur, it just doesn't exist. Now, are there cases like George Floyd? Absolutely. But they're infinitesimal
compared to the number of
police
contact,
contacts. Yeah.
right. It's infinitesimal.
We looked at some numbers before, and the contacts run in the tens of millions.
Right. And people tend to forget police officers are human. There's a human element involved. It's never ever going to be a perfect situation of somebody that's been given that kind of lawful authority always acting.
No, 100%.
100% perfect.
No, but in 40 million contacts, force against African Americans, serious force against African Americans, less than 1%. Mm-hmm. So you got to look at that and understand that it's a perception. But I was hoping that we could have some meaningful conversation with Ben today.
Hey, Larry, would you agree though, based on your experience, and I'm speaking from mine, which is a lot less than yours in law enforcement, that you were challenged, your authority was challenged more by African Americans than probably any other?
I don't know.
I felt like mine was.
I don't know.
Frequently.
I don't know that was the case. I've had a challenge.
For a number.
There's different people challenge the police for different reasons. Sometimes you get affluent people that challenge you because they feel entitled, because of their position or whatever.
I'm just talking a direct challenge to authority.
Physically, I probably got in more scuffles in the Northwest Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it wasn't anybody trying to hurt you. It was just somebody trying to get away. I don't want to go to jail today. So you're going to have to catch me to do that.
Right. Yeah, I chased a lot of people.
Yeah, but it happened on the west side. It's happened in Ocean Way. I've made a lot of arrests in the old Ocean Way. And, some of those cases were, it just depends on the circumstances. Sometimes you'll get one that's been to prison and, it doesn't matter their color or background and they don't want to go back to jail and they're willing to die or, take your life to avoid that. Mm-hmm. So, another thing that Ben Frazier talked about was the gun show loophole. So we'll get into those numbers. So we pulled some articles and Blake Harper sent us some pretty good articles. Some of it I didn't use because it kind of took us down a rabbit hole and I could spend hours talking about it. I don't think people want to hear that. But, found some interesting information just from a 2016 Department of Justice paper. 50% of guns used in crimes were obtained illegally. 50%. Mm-hmm. Only 10% were obtained through retail means.
Usually auto thefts, or auto burglaries, rather.
We'll get to that.
We're getting there.
Okay.
10% were obtained through retail means. 25% were obtained through another individual. That means a friend or family member gave them a gun or
private
purchased
party or
it. Less than 1% were obtained from gun shows. Less than 1%. And to your point, around 600 guns are stolen from unlocked cars each year, not including locked cars. Mm-hmm. Just about 600 guns, 5.5s, unlocked cars. In 2021, around 1,000 guns were stolen, whether that was cars, homes, or some other type of theft. And most guns that were used illegally were used after following a theft, whether it was a burglary or auto burglary or home burglary. So this mantra about closing the gun show loophole it's a non-starter when less than 1% of guns that were used illegally were obtained through a gun show. So is that there? But a lot of times they're stolen guns, and I've seen I don't know how many times as an officer or in a staff where you've pulled a report or somebody was killed in Jacksonville and they were killed with a gun that was stolen 2 or 3 years ago. Sometimes not even from Jacksonville, stolen from another city, sometimes from Jacksonville.
And they're floating around on the black market.
Yeah, you end up finding them and they were reported stolen 5 years prior. They were using a robbery or using a homicide and they were stolen from a car 5 years ago, So that's another issue for another day as far as accountability, what you do with your guns. Make sure you're taking them out. Make sure you're locking your vehicles.
But auto burglaries is, whether the car's locked or not, I'd like to find out what the number is for the locked cars, is the greatest supplier of illegal guns.
Seems like
basically.
Yeah. And some of the kids that we used to catch, at least on the west side of Jacksonville, they kind of laughed at it at the time. I mean, they've tried to do something with prolific offenders. They've had the prolific offender status for a few years now. But, they're breaking into cars, just stealing whatever, GPS, phones, laptops,
and
money,
if the gun's in there, they're not going to leave the gun.
But then
right?
they get the gun, and then they graduate to other crimes. So that's where a lot of that. There should be some accountability for leaving your gun in a vehicle, at least unlocked.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to prove sometimes, but, Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you got a gun, don't leave it in the car. Just take it out, locked or unlocked. It makes no difference.
What television station? Is it Channel 4 that's doing the 9 p.m.?
No, that's JSO.
Oh, JSO.
Oh, JSO, but are they doing it on all
They post
Facebook
on
forums.
Facebook,
Yeah.
on
Instagram.
all? Yeah, but I've seen it on some news channels and things. So
they've probably
somebody's spending some
reported that.
money and trying to get the message out, which is good. That it's a problem and needs to be addressed.
Well, I know Frazier has talked about civilian review boards.
Yeah. I was waiting for that.
And I wanted to ask him today, his viewpoints on that. And obviously, we can't do that.
Well, we've heard his viewpoints many times.
Yeah, he just wants to think it creates more accountability. But my question is to him is look, I've sat on disciplinary hearing boards for officers, and I've seen officers targeted, and I've seen internal affairs weaponized. I've seen things like that where sometimes an officer can be a political scapegoat, and the fear among law enforcement is they would use a civilian review board to make them, and they would, because they want to put people on these boards that have absolutely no law enforcement experience. And I don't know, my plan was to ask Mr. Frazier, has he ever ridden with the police? Has he ever applied and gone through, and maybe, I don't know, the felony record's an issue, a civilian academy? How much time has he spent? Did he go through an academy? Did he have a degree in criminology or law enforcement? Does he have any background? Because if you look at other fields, judges, attorneys, doctors, nurses, when they have some sort of act that violates their code, their protocol, their procedures, they go before basically a jury of their peers. And police should too, because no one else is going to understand law enforcement procedure, policies, law, than people in the law enforcement community. I don't have a problem having the community involved, and as an elected official, you need
to have the community involved.
That's who your constituents are, and that's who you report to. Mm-hmm. You don't report to your employees, you report to the public. But
to the people.
In these cases, there has to be some control over, politicizing something that should be a fact-finding event of, say it's a responsive resistance board or anything like that, or disciplinary hearing board. It should be just based on those facts and whether or not they violated policy and or law.
Well, I've watched.
He spoke. Let's see. I think he said he's been in 5 articles in 3 years talking about civilian review board.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen him on the air.
Yeah, there's one there
a couple of times. The problem with Mr. Frazier is, and if you're listening to this, I hope you hear me, that you seem to not be receptive to anybody else's perspective on that issue but your own. And if you're just going to stand on your opinion,
he's got no basis to speak on it. He says we need to stop allowing them to investigate themselves. The fox is guarding the hen house. Well, that's offensive to me.
Yeah.
Because in 28 years, I've never seen these. The bottom line is these internal investigations by JSO have got to go. Well, that's
things don't get swept under the rug.
It's not even a lucid argument.
Yeah, no.
So, they need to spend some time talking to police. He should have ridden with the police. He should have done those things. And I think his mantra has been just to attack and not have any kind of meaningful discussions, and maybe understand that he doesn't see everything
right
in the correct.
Well, if he'll expand his fear, like you said, and ride with the police and do those things, he can have more of an educated perspective on the issue, and I think people will take him a little more seriously.
Yeah. Well, he's not having anything that's really, meaningful at this point. So, I don't know what else without him here that we can really discuss.
Well, not
miss anything, Crawfish?
Yeah. Not without him being able to rebut something or defend himself or whatever. I don't want to go too far, because I don't want to take advantage of the fact that he didn't show up today, because we could, but we won't, because we're not like that.
No. But
he probably lost his opportunity to ever come back on our show.
An email would have been nice to know.
Well, it would have been respectful. That's all.
Yeah.
Because we do pay for airtime here, and there's a lot of people that do want to come on the show that would have liked to have been in that seat today.
Yeah.
And a simple text, hey, I can't make it, I'm not coming, instead of us sitting here for 30 minutes waiting for a guy that never shows. So
Michael Boylan was coming, but as it's been in the news, he's got
COVID.
He's got COVID. So.
But at least he let us know.
Gary that runs the studio said he's had 18 people canceled in the week or something like that because of COVID.
Boylan was sick, but he reached out to us and let us know he couldn't make it.
He did do the professional thing and let us know that he wasn't going to make it. And he's got some initiatives. We're just going to basically let him talk about the things he wanted to speak to.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of questions for him, but he's got some specific initiatives that he's
got 2.
two
Yeah.
initiatives that he's working on. But we'll get him back
When he's feeling
and
better.
let him discuss the things and get the message out to the public. But we appreciate him letting us know that he couldn't make it, not just decide to hold another rally and then not give us any heads up. But that's pretty much all I got to say on that subject.
Respect. So, all right. Well, I think we've done with Mr. Frazier today.
Yeah. Maybe
And sorry, he well, definitely forever. So, opportunity missed because he probably, knowing us, I think he probably could have made a little headway here and got some of his message out because we're pretty fair, and
Absolutely.
it would have benefited his cause.
fair and balanced.
It's a missed opportunity. So, all right, we'll wrap with that, and that was
Crawfish, you got anything?
Nope.
that was today's special guest.
Crawfish, what was that video?
Ben Frazier.
Hold on, man. Why were you in underwear?
It was
in the
shorts.
mountains?
It was
Okay.
shorts.
All right. It looked like American draws.
That's basically what they were.
Okay. Did you see the video?
I haven't. Are we going to see it?
I mean, we can. Do you have the video?
Can our people
I don't
see
So
know.
it?
did you
I can't
lose a
throw it
bet
up.
to your grandfather?
Basically.
Are you going to be
It was
embarrassed?
$20, so
But he told you had to go ride the tube down the snow mountain in your underwear,
basically.
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 What bet would you lose to put
It was
yourself
$20.
But what was the bet?
No, that I wouldn't do it.
Oh, for $20?
For $20.
So you won $20.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
You did that for $20?
It wasn't that cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was actually quite warm.
I don't think he's hard up. I think he was like, hey, it's $20 and sounds like
Yeah, I
fun.
think
It
seeing
sounds like a lot of fun.
His Creed American shorts and his cowboy
Yeah.
boots up going to the mountain. Was that just 2 days ago?
No, that was last Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
a week
you've
from
been
today.
back. I was like, well, wait a minute, that's 2
we
days
came back
ago.
on Saturday.
Because I was worried he was going to be coming back to like today. And,
No.
Yeah. All right.
Okie dokie.
Well, maybe we'll inset that video so everybody can see it on the
I'll
page.
share it on our page.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
That's pretty good
I got
stuff.
to see this.
That's all I got.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That was Real Jacks with Jim, Larry, and Crawfish. We will see you next time.
Thank you.